Okay, ta-da! Trying these new toys. This is the Master Almanac for 2011. I'm going to try to do a quick explanation of what the heck this thing is, so stay tuned. Here we have. This is the third year in a row that I've done the book, and for this year I decided 2 years I had about 30 pages worth of explanation up front. And then this year I decided to just put the almanac right up front and leave all the explanation to the back. The original inspiration for this project was to basically set most of the world's calendars together, one right next to the other, and then people could decide for themselves what was valid and what for them. And so I really try not to explain a lot, but let us all just kind of like figure it out as we go along. But every once in a while you gotta do some splainin'. So this is my splainin'. At the beginning of each month there is this yellow legend that explains what each one of the columns is. Right? So you can see this is the column. I know it's a little fuzzy, but first column is the Gregorian date, the day of the week, planet that rules that day. And then you have the sacred geometry paintings, daily oracle and perpetual calendar, basically the painting of the day with the word for the day, which is presented as a question. Now all that, I've been painting sacred geometry for like about 15 years or so. And what happened is, after I reached 600 of them, I had this idea that I'd make a calendar out of them. And I selected out 366 images. And where the names for these came from is I wanted to know what does this sacred geometry image do, right? So what I did is I focused on an image. In this case, let's take the first one, January 1st, which is actually my version of the American flag, or the New World Flag, question mark is the real title of it. But it's called the Day of Promise. And how this came about, I'd focus on the image while doing 14 to 21 conscious breaths between the inhale and the exhale. And while asking the question, what does this image do? What am I feeling? Like a test, And what came to me would have to be one word, and it would have to be positive, and it would have to fit into the sentence, today is the day of, or this is the, I was born on the day of, in such a way that somebody would feel really yummy and excited and good about the fact that today was their birthday, and the word matched some sort of positive question. So that's how the names came for the Master Almanac's sacred geometry paintings, perpetual calendar, daily oracle calendar. And in the next column we have the degrees of the sun. Now, a lot's been made lately about the two zodiacs. There's two zodiacs. One is called the tropical zodiac. That's what's pictured on the top here. And right underneath it is the sidereal zodiac, the eastern sidereal zodiac, that also astronomers use. It's the sidereal zodiac. Sider means star, and it's the zodiac of the stars, basically. And it's fixed. It says that 30 degrees of Aries is always going to be in the same place in the sky, and that's it. Whereas the top one, the tropical zodiac, is based on saying that 0 degrees Aries is, and thus the first degree of the zodiac, begins on wherever the sun is on the morning spring equinox. And in the year 22 222 AD, those two zodiacs were the same, and they've been moving apart ever since. So that the tropical zodiac, the western tropical zodiac, has been moving a degree ahead every 72 years. So that now they're approximately 25 degrees apart. And they will continue to go apart over the next, 25,970 year cycle, what's called the Great Year, and, until they come back together again. And so wherever the sun rises in the morning of the spring equinox, whatever constellation that's in, tells us, in the sidereal zodiac, tells us what the age is. So right now, the sun rises, around March 20th, 21st, in the sidereal zodiac, that astronomers watch, at around 5 degrees Pisces, and it moves backwards through the zodiac in that 25,907 cycle. So what happens is we have those two zodiacs coming apart, and this age is called the age of Pisces. And because it takes 72 years for it to go a degree, and it's at 5 degrees now, in 350 years, it'll be going backwards into Aquarius. So anything that's within 5 degrees cusp, anything that's between 5 degrees of the line between two signs, is called on the cusp. And so that's the root of the phrase of the age of Aquarius, because we're just entering that little 5 degree zone before Aquarius, and it's going to take, like I said, 350 years for us there. So anyway, here we have the degrees of the sun in the tropical zodiac. The degrees underneath that is the degrees of the sidereal zodiac. So on New Year's Day, the sun was at 10 degrees Capricorn, and in the western tropical zodiac, and at 16 degrees Sagittarius in the sidereal zodiac. And right next to that, in the next column, we have the Mayan, the true Mayan calendar, according to the Quiché Maya, or the Yucatec Mayan. And that's the top part of this column, and then the bottom part is actually the Aztec version of this calendar. They're basically the same calendar. They just have a different understanding of the same calendar. Some of the days have different meanings and that kind of thing. And both of these calendars are listed in the back of the book. So then we have, right next to that, we have the column called the Dream Spell Calendar, which is Jose Arguelles' version of the same calendar, except his calendar, as you can see, is different. And I don't necessarily promote his calendar. In fact, this was really the motivation for publishing this calendar. In 1995, summer 1995, I was introduced to what I thought was a Mayan calendar by reading his book called The Mayan Factor, and I was actually sitting in the field of the Woodstock concert, the original Woodstock concert in Bethel, New York. And this brother was behind me that had a copy of this book, and I'd just been made aware of it a couple weeks before. And the reason we were there was because Jerry Garcia just died, and all these folks thought that something was going to happen. And I just come from a rainbow gathering, and we all just headed over to Bethel for the annual Woodstock reunion concert. And so I was camped out there for 3 days, and this brother loaned me the book, and I wasn't sure he was leaving, so I read it as fast as I could. So I read it in 3 days, and I wasn't quite sure if I got it right about how to create the Mayan calendar that that Jose was talking about. So I created 2 versions of it, and I monitored those 2 versions for the better part of a year, and until February 29th, 1996. And according to Jose, you don't count February leap day. You don't count it. I was like, that's crazy. I mean, how can you not count? You've spent all this time, talking about the sun, the moon, the stars, the color, the direction, all this sort of stuff, and then all of a sudden you're not gonna count that day just because it doesn't fit into your calendar. So But in the interest of the time experiment, I created a third calendar um, with without counting that day, just as he said, and I monitored all three for the next 4 months. And what I discovered is all three calendars were valid. And so that told me that the operative element in all three calendars was belief, what we invest in it. And, that's basically what I found about all these calendars is a day is a day, but it's what we say it means. But what I decided back then, when I discovered that, what he was calling the Mayan wasn't actually the Mayan calendar, was his version of the Mayan calendar, um, I wanted to know what the real Mayan calendar was. So what I did is uh, I envisioned placing them next to one another so that everybody could see, and with the Gregorian calendar and whatever other calendars I could find, and so that we could all just kind of figure out what's really valid. And so that was the nation of the Master Almanac back 1996, spring of 1996. And so here we have it. His dream spell calendar is there. And those are also listed in the back, and I'll show that to you in a minute. Right next to that, we have the Nine Lords of the Night cycle, which is a continuously running 9-night cycle, just like our 7-day cycle, continuously running 7-day cycle. And because the Aztecs are kind of a very warrior yang energy, and they were in some they formed human sacrifice and all that kind of stuff. I wanted something that was more yin and shanti. So when I thought about 9, okay, what yin and 9? What came to mind was the 9 muses, right? So when I did the research on the muses, what I discovered was there were actually at one time or another there were 28 different entities shipped as muses, and so I created this calendar called the 28 Nights of the Greek Muses Speculative Calendar. And first originally there was just one muse, then there were 3 muses, then there were 3 different sets of 3 around Greece, depending where you were, and then there was a set of 4, then the Romans had the set of 9. No, the Romans had a set of 7, and then by the Renaissance there was a set of that we know of. And if you add all that together, what you end up with is 28. So that's the genesis of the 28 Nights of the Greek Muses Speculative Calendar, which is right next to the Aztec 9 Lords of the Night. And then right now you have the top part of this is it's really hard to see with this. I'm shooting this iPhone, so forgive. And remember, you can download a free copy of the free ebook version of this from. I've got it up on Lulu. I've got it on my personal website, daenglish.com, and you can just go to themasteralmanac.com and download that. So the top part is the ancient Chinese 60-day cycle, and the 60-day cycle is out. Everybody knows, like what's coming up is the Chinese New Year, the Spring Festival, and their calendar. We know that it's the rabbit or the year of the hare, and it's a 12-year cycle, right? But what most people don't know is that it's actually a 60-year cycle, and the 60-year cycle, as it turns out, was predated by a 60-day cycle by several centuries. For about 500 years before the 60-year cycle, it was what people knew of was the 60 days. So I found it, and there it is. So New Year's Day was the 50th day in that 60-day cycle. Is the day water ox buffalo, right? Now, right underneath that, and this is something I'm really excited about, and we'll get to talk about in a little bit. It's you see this solid line, and this is a yang line, which means heaven, and the masculine element and all that stuff. And down, if you go down a little ways, you'll see there's a yin one here. It's an ancient binary code, um, and